his name is...
It's John Bundy. Hello Internet, it's John Bundy, and it is Thursday the 28th of March, and my 4th RPG of the 12 RPG challenge is now finished, and that is Breath of Fire 3 on the PSX. So, I don't have an original PlayStation or a PlayStation 2. So how I played this was via my PlayStation Classic. It's like a very easy. These things are incredibly easy to hack. So using a memory stick, I put Breath of Fire 3 onto this and play it via this. So it was quite nice to play it via the big TV in the living room, which is how I played Silent Hill last year as part of the 52 challenge. So it was quite cool to do that, because it also comes with like it's USB but traditional controller. Anyway. So Breath of Fire is a series that I say a long history with, even though I haven't played it for a while. So back in ye old days, like literally a long time ago. So I played the Game Boy Advance ports of 1 and 2, back when Game Boy Advance games were still being released. So I played those not knowing much about the series and quite enjoyed them. And then I heard there's a Breath of Fire 3 on the PlayStation. It's like, oh, I'll play that one day. Years and years and years and years, like 20, 25 years have passed. And I've been thinking this whole time that I should play it. And doing this challenge has finally given me the kick to go and do it. So, and I'm glad that I finally have, because people talk about how either 3 or 4, the community seems to be a bit divided, is their favourite of the series out of 5 or 6 games. Anyway, so what do I think about this game? So first of all, even though I don't own a PlayStation, I have played a couple of PlayStation JRPGs. Final Fantasy 7, 8, 9 and Chrono Cross. Something that those games all have in common, which for me was kind of like the staple of the PlayStation JRPG, was the fact that it was kind of like all polygons. There might be some kind of pre-rendered background kind of thing, but they were all trying to be next gen, and I get that. So to then play Breath of Fire 3, which, how I would describe it is, it's still keeping the style of a 16-bit RPG, so where it still has kind of like that kind of top-down pixel art aesthetic, but then elevating it. So games like Final Fantasy 7 onwards, to me is a revolution of what these consoles are now capable of doing with the extra hardware. Whereas for me, Breath of Fire 3 graphically is an evolution of the traditional 16-bit RPG. So, for example, I'm not going to pretend to know if it's definitively whether or not they did use pixel art for backgrounds and things, or if it's different. I could research it, but I haven't before recording this. But when I say face a boss, the bosses are gloriously beautiful in regards to their arts. I don't think they're pixel art. They're just that good and well animated. But they stand out, not in a way that as if it doesn't fit with the style of the game, but it's just clearly this is something that is more powerful. A console is more powerful than, say, the SNES, which had the SNES, which had Breath of Fire 1 and 2 before that. So if you went from playing those two to playing 3, you felt like you were playing something more. Don't get me wrong, playing Final Fantasy 6 and then 7 obviously felt like more of a jump, but that doesn't I think, undermine what this was doing. Maybe some people felt that back in the day, but like in the year 2024, that's how I felt. Like, I like the fact that it was keeping true to its roots in that sense of like the style. So, yeah, and it also then took advantage of this bigger CD for its music. And there's nothing that particularly stood out for me. Don't get me wrong, like the entire time that I've been playing this game, like the battle theme stuck in my head because I heard it so much. And when I started playing it, there's a kind of forest area earlier on, and I had to send it to the people in the RPG WhatsApp group to say, am I hearing the beginnings of like one of the Chrono Trigger songs? And like Martin was like, yeah, I'm pretty sure that's like one of those. Like the intro is like the same as one of those. So I was like, okay. Clearly they didn't get sued back in the day, but it does seem very familiar. So, the things that, okay, I want to try and get across. Like, I did enjoy my time in this game, but there are parts of it that frustrated me. Okay, one of the things is there are times where there are mini games within the game. Oh, there are mini games. For those who've been playing Final Fantasy Rebirth, 7 Rebirth, sorry, that game apparently is packed with mini games. So, this might fall in deaf ears. But, so there are a couple of times in the game where to progress the main storyline to be able to continue the game, you suddenly have to do these mini games. And they are mini games which have already existed in the game before this point, but I had not engaged with because, for example, a fishing mini game. So I'm like, I don't really care about fishing. I will skip past this, but then suddenly I'm forced to do some fishing. And for those who are the group, I had a couple of drinks at that time, but I was raging the fact that I was being forced to do this because I was failing to catch the fish I needed. And then the next day, I'll be honest, I looked up on the internet, like, what the fuck am I doing wrong? And then it turns out that, so if anyone who goes to play this game, when you get to the point where you are forced to do some fishing, if you go to near the mines where there is a like a border that you can't cross, there is a word, but I've been drinking some whiskey so I forget, but there is a locked door in the cabin there that if you have Ray, who is the thief, come out the door and you get like a great rod. That just immediately changed it because I was using the basic rod you got with the game, for starting the game pretty much. That kept I couldn't catch a fish, but once I changed it, suddenly that solved my problem. So top tip there, go and get the good rod. It's free because you're stealing it, but yeah. Anyway. So there's a couple of instances of that where if you haven't been like engaged in these mini games and suddenly you have to do them to progress the main storyline. Like I came here for a JRPG, I want to do some combats, not to do some fishing. So, and the other thing as well is, if you have seen the anime Gurren Lagann, this is kind of like that, where it's going from a very humble kind of beginnings to this. By the end, the stakes have risen that much, but the through line doesn't necessarily. Sorry, I'm not gonna really articulate this very well, but okay. So, your character, you are a member of the Brood, dragon people. Shocker. So you are an orphan because you were, trapped in Chrysium, and you were discovered in a mine. And so then, who knows who your parents are, or whatever, but turns out that the entirety of your people have been wiped out in a holy war 400 years ago. So no parents, anything, and then like two other boys take you in, and suddenly, so you're looking after for each other. And then things kind of go from there, but there is no main villain going through it. So like with the other kind of like RPGs that I've been playing this year, it may not necessarily be obvious at the beginning, but by a certain point in the game you're like, oh, this is the main villain of the piece, or you can infer who will be, or like the organization or the kingdom or whoever. Whereas with this game, it doesn't have that until like a lot further in the game. So it felt like I was doing a lot of things that weren't making much of a difference to the world. Not like that I want to like make like change the world, but as in the sense of a JRPG, you feel like your actions are building towards something. Whereas for the first half of the game, it doesn't really feel like that. Like, if your character wasn't there, the things you did, this doesn't actually feel like they would have changed the world that much. You know, other people could have done the same thing. Like, there was an illegal smuggling ring. You don't have to deal with that. So, and the final boss is, I don't want to do spoilers, but it's kind of like a concept, so you hear about that you're going towards. It's not like an antagonist that has been poking you the whole entire game. So it kind of felt like I was like waiting for the game to get to the point. So yeah, I mean, I am definitely glad I played it, and I want to play the fourth game. So, and I don't want to make it feel like this is a downer, because this is a game that if you have an enjoyment of JRPGs and if you love like PlayStation RPGs, you haven't played this, play it. But it's just, be aware that if you're expecting to go into this game and you're like, oh, there's the big bad, that is where, you know, I'm going to end up and that's who I'm going to defeat, that's not going to be as obvious until further in the game, and you're going to be dealing with an orphan finding his way in the world. And it's fine. This is about an orphan finding his way in the world. Like, this is, you know, the hero's journey. And I get that. It's just, I guess, that wasn't what I was expecting. But anyway, so, sorry, that's a lot of rambling. So, but, yeah, Breath of Fire 3 for the PSX. A game that, as far as I'm aware, hasn't been re-released. I don't know if it's on like some kind of like PlayStation store or whatever, but anyway, it's definitely worth a try. But I won't blame you if you gave up on the game for the reasons that I mentioned. But if you keep going with it, there are definitely like shine moments, and by the end, I was engaged with it. I was hooked with it, and I wanted to see it through to the end. Even though it did take me a couple of attempts to defeat the final boss, and Jesus, from the last save point before the final boss, there is easily about half an hour of like having to get to the actual fight. So even if you may want to play it on a PlayStation, and so because of this, yes, you can do a save state, and you know, if you trust me, I did not save state through that final fight. I did not save state through any of the fights in this game, but I put a save state before the final boss because the fact that I didn't want to have to walk to the boss and go through all the fucking dialogue just to start the fight after I've died. So that is something that, you know, I'm glad games have cottoned on to, the fact that you can skip this kind of stuff. Don't get me wrong, like, you know, it's world building, kind of like world building. It's like, it's the plot of the game, for Christ's sake. But you know, once you've had it once, you don't need it again. So yeah. Anyway, onwards. So I've got some other games that I need to play this year. So I need to figure out which one I need to play next. I haven't decided yet, but we will see. And you'll find below, I'll leave a link to all the channels who are also taking part in the 12 RPG challenge. We've also now taken on Nott's Gamer. So those who saw, not his latest video, but 3 videos ago of recording, and he was talking about like his pickups and things, but at the beginning he was talking about he's played a couple of RPGs. I'm like, you are in line for doing a 12 RPG challenge, and he has decided to join us. So yes, great. Until next time, catch you all later.